The SS Gigantic was a floating monument to excess, a five-star cruise liner where the towels were Egyptian cotton and the guests were mostly retired hedge fund managers with brittle bones and even brittler personalities. It was the perfect hiding spot for Wade Wilson. Wade hadn't planned on becoming a maritime chef. He'd actually been aiming for a pirate aesthetic, but after realizing parrots poop on your shoulder and eye patches mess with your depth perception, he opted for the kitchen. He'd intercepted the actual head chef, a man named Gustav, who smelled like truffle oil and arrogance, in the VIP terminal. One accidental trip down a flight of stairs and a very convincing wig later, Wade was the new king of the galley. "Listen up, you lumps of unbaked dough," Wade screamed at the line cooks on his first day, waving a meat cleaver. "From now on, we don't serve foie gras. We serve liverish pucks with a side of sadness. And if I see one more sprig of parsley used as a garnish, I will garnish your internal organs." For a week, the ship was in a state of culinary terror. Wade spent his days deep-frying everything, including once a guest's discarded Rolex. "It adds a metallic tang," he explained to the weeping owner. Kitchen Olympics, he organized knife-throwing at the salami tournaments during the lunch rush. The secret sauce. He convinced the pastry chef that the secret to a good chocolate mousse was a pinch of gunpowder. It wasn't. The passengers were miserable, the Yelp reviews were apocalyptic, and the captain was contemplating a man-overboard scenario for his new chef. But the ocean had other plans. The storm didn't just break the ship, it tried to delete it from the map. 50-foot waves hammered the hull like God's own sledgehammer. While the wealthy elite were fighting over gold-plated life jackets, Wade had found the ultimate nap spot. A heavy-duty, reinforced, inflatable lifeboat tucked in a quiet alcove near the stern. "Wake me up when we hit the Bahamas," Wade muttered, curling up on the soft rubber floor. He had tied the safety line to a railing with a knot he learned from a cartoon, which is to say, it was a very poor knot. A rogue wave, larger than a skyscraper, slammed into the SS Gigantic. The ship groaned, tilted at a lethal 60-degree angle, and the lifeboat, with a snoring Deadpool inside, slid right off the deck and into the churning black abyss of the sea. Wade woke up when the boat hit the water with the force of a car crash. He popped his head out of the tarp, mask soggy and lopsided. "Help! Murder! Late-stage capitalism!" he screamed. But his voice was swallowed by the roar of the hurricane. The cruise ship was a dying spark of light in the distance, disappearing behind a wall of rain. Wade eventually passed out from the motion sickness, the boat tossing like a cork in a washing machine. When the sun rose, the ocean was a flat, terrifyingly calm sheet of sapphire. Wade sat up, his head throbbing. "Okay, let's take stock. One inflatable boat, one spatula, one emergency flare, 0 tacos. This is officially my worst vacation since that weekend in Detroit." Then he felt it, a slow, heavy thump against the bottom of the boat. Wade looked over the side. At first, he saw nothing. Then a massive gray shape drifted under the boat. It was easily 25 feet long. It wasn't just a shark. It was a prehistoric ghost, a scarred, jagged-toothed monster that seemed to radiate malice. "Oh, hey there, Bruce. You look like you've had a rough life." "Me too. We have so much in common. We both have healing factors." "Wait, you don't?" "Oof, sucks to be you." The shark slammed into the boat again, this time with enough force to nearly flip it. The rubber groaned. A small hiss started near the valve. "Hey, no biting the merchandise," Wade yelled, swinging his spatula at a passing fin. In the distance, Wade spotted a tiny rocky outcropping, hardly an island, more of a jagged tooth of volcanic rock sticking out of the sea. "Land! Glorious, non-sinking land!" Wade began to paddle frantically with his hands, but the shark was playing a game of cat and mouse. It would disappear into the depths, then suddenly rush upward, its massive head ramming the boat like a battering ram. Each hit sent Wade flying. The boat was losing air fast. With one final desperate lunge, the shark bit the entire rear end of the lifeboat. Wade scrambled to the front, the boat folding like a taco. He saw the rocks of the island just yards away. "I'm coming for you, Rocky!" The shark breached, its jaws snapping inches from Wade's legs. Wade used the momentum of the sinking boat to springboard himself through the air. He hit the jagged rocks of the island with a dull thwack, his ribs cracking instantly. He dragged himself up the sharp stones, panting, as the remains of the lifeboat were dragged underwater and shredded into orange confetti by the great white. Wade spent the next 4 hours on the island, which was about the size of a studio apartment and offered zero shade. "Okay," Wade said, his bones knitting back together with audible clicks. He's out there, waiting, thinking about how much spandex sticks to the teeth. He looked at his tools, a metal spatula, a flare gun with one shot, some fishing line he'd found in his pocket. He looked at the sharp volcanic glass rock of the island. Time for a montage. Wade spent the afternoon grinding the edges of his spatula against the volcanic rock until it was razor sharp. He shattered a piece of rock to create a jagged spearhead and lashed it to a sturdy piece of driftwood that had washed ashore. "I call this the Shark Shish Kebabinator 3000, he told a passing seagull. The seagull pooped on his foot. Critic. He knew he couldn't stay on the rock forever. The tide was rising, and soon the island would be nothing more than a shallow reef. He had to kill the beast or die trying, which for him was more of a hobby than a threat. As the sun began to set, the shark returned. It circled the rock, its dorsal fin cutting the water like a knife. It knew the tide was coming. It was patient. "All right, you overgrown sushi roll, you want a piece of the merc? Come and get the whole franchise." Wade dived. The water was cold and crystal clear. He saw the shark coming from below, a gray torpedo of death. Wade held his breath, his shark spear clutched in both hands. They met in the middle. The shark snapped. Wade spun, the sandpaper skin of the beast shredding his suit. He jammed the spear into the shark's side, but the wood snapped under the pressure of the shark's muscles. Wade was now unarmed, 20 feet underwater, facing a hungry god. The shark turned for a second pass. Wade reached into his belt and pulled out his last resort, the flare gun. He didn't fire it. Instead, he swam directly toward the shark's open mouth. At the last possible microsecond, Wade jammed his arm into the shark's massive gill slits and pulled himself onto its back. The shark went into a frenzied death roll, spinning so fast the G-force nearly blacked Wade out. He hung on with pure, unadulterated spite. He crawled toward the head. The shark breached the surface, leaping high into the air in an attempt to shake its rider. "Smile, you son of a—" "Wait, that line's taken," Wade screamed. As they hung in the air, suspended between the sea and the stars, Wade shoved the flare gun into the shark's eye socket and pulled the trigger. Boom! The magnesium flare ignited, a blinding white sun exploding inside the shark's head. The creature let out a silent, underwater scream of agony and slammed back into the ocean. It thrashed once, twice, and then began to sink, the orange glow of the flare still burning deep in the water like a dying coal. Wade bobbed to the surface, coughing up a pint of salt water and a small piece of his own lung. "That was awesome," he wheezed. He looked around. The island was gone, swallowed by the tide. But far, far to the west, he saw a new silhouette, a much larger island, a real one, with trees, maybe even a tiki bar. "Well," Wade sighed, adjusting his mask and starting a steady, rhythmic stroke, "at least I don't have to cook for those grumpy cruise passengers anymore. I wonder if they like coconut-crusted Deadpool on that island." He began to swim, his red suit a tiny speck against the vast, darkening horizon.